What's going on, everybody? This is Afro Think Tank. I want to talk more about this Charlie Kirk situation. Me and my Marine Corps buddy was talking after I actually watched the footage of the shot. Like, when I made my other videos, I didn't actually see like the shot itself. I saw after and before, and then I saw the shot, right? And the way it hit, the angle, and the distance at which, you know, the distance at which it was taken. And the jets are scrambling. I wonder why. And me and my Marine Corps buddy, retired United States Marine Corps Special Force operator, we both came to the conclusion that was a very professional shot. The fact that it hit him in the neck, if you account for elevation, I'm assuming they say 200 yards, but I'm pretty sure that was a longer distance because we in Marine Corps, we train at 200 yards to hit targets point blank, and 20 yards is pretty close with a rifle, right? And that means that probably would have had the shot would have had to happen pretty much within the crowd. They say it happened within the business. They showed the individual, or what's perceivably the individual, on the top of a building, quite a distance away. And I'm gonna have to assume it had to be more than 500 yards, right? So I know that this was a very professional shot. And if you look around Charlie Kirk, there was a woman standing right next to him, and there was a guy. Like, the angle of the shot, there were so many people around him. The person that shot him without hitting anybody else. That was a very dangerous shot. But the way he got hit in the neck, when I saw that, I was like, oh, he's dead. There's absolutely no recovering from that one. Too many carotid arteries, too many blood vessels, right? I've seen many shots like that in combat. Ain't no getting up. Many of Marines, soldiers, and sailors done got hit just like that by snipers. And that was a well-placed shot, right? That's not a regular, some guy angry, upset, and deciding he wanted to do something about it. This was a guy that probably I'm assuming probably got paid to do this. And then he got away smooth, right? And from where he was, from an elevated position in the angle, hit him in the neck. He probably wasn't necessary. He might have been going from the head, accounting for distance and the bullet and its, the bullet trajectory. He might have been going for the head. He probably was going for the head, but it hit in the neck, and that's a safe spot. If that's where I would aim, because I know guaranteed I'm gonna get a kill shot if I aim for the head from where he was. He was probably definitely more than 500 yards away. And I just want to say that Charlie Kirk, right, was a white racist tool for rich white racists that you don't see, right? They have billions of dollars, and they make people like him who have millions of dollars to go out as race soldiers and spread white supremacy, white ideologies all over the place. And people may say, oh, well, he wasn't dangerous. He was dangerous. The pen is mightier than a sword, right? The pen represents propaganda. You see, you could take a sword and you can kill one person at a time. You can take a pen, which represents speech, represents writing, represents typing, represents making videos like this. And you can inspire thousands, millions to do things. And his job, Charlie Kirk's job, was to bolster fragile white egos, lie, spread, propaganda, misinformation, and disinformation in order to galvanize the lesser educated masses onto the white supremacist, white native ideologies, right? And all he did was talk about black people. He never talked about the issues going on in the white community. He never talked about the dangers and the violence that happened in the white community, because his agenda was to make sure that people in the middle of America who don't even know many black people, who don't interact with black people on a daily basis, to make sure that they believe in their head that black people are dangerous criminals and they shouldn't be trusted, and that they should be the enemy of white people. That was his job. And the thing is, he would go to universities, because universities are where rural white Americans who are subjugated to their families and their small communities, where this type of thinking permeates. The young white Americans go off to universities where they're exposed to other cultures, and then they start to change. That's why the Republicans and conservatives are anti-intellectual, because once their children become smart and intelligent and they become woke to the greater world, they change their views. So that means the army, the ignorant army of white supremacy, is no longer viable. It can't stick together. So his job was as a race soldier, as a propagandist who was pumped, made a millionaire, made prominent, falsely propped up by billionaires who sit on boards and have lobbies and own all the politicians. His job was to go and try to fight against intellectualism on college campuses, right? And Charlie Kirk was very good at the form of argument to where he would pivot, he would straw man, he would embellish, he would literally change the topic in order to fit his narrative. He wasn't an honest debater, right? And like I said, what he was doing was very violent. So let's not say it wasn't violent. He was violent because he was inspiring people to be violent towards people that look like me, towards people who are brown. He advocated for and justified the genocide of the Palestinians. He advocated and justified he advocated and justified forcing children to have babies by their rapists. He even said that his daughter, if his daughter was raped, his 10-year-old daughter was raped, that he would force her to have the baby. Now, I don't believe that to be the case, but he had to say it because that was his job, right? That's his job to say that. And so he advocated for the most evil things, the most subhuman ideologies that exist on this planet. And he wrapped that up in what you call respectability politics, right? He wrapped that up in his polo shirts and looking like he was some kind of modern, new age, new thinking, free thinking youth, right? Because he was young. And there's not many young people like him. Because most young people, by the time they get to an age of enlightenment, when they start to educate themselves, they realize how barbaric and savage their thought process was when they were thinking those things based off what their fathers were teaching them in the household, in them small little villages, in them rural towns in America. You gotta remember, just how you say we got rural villages in Africa, right? You got rural villages in Asia where you're far off from civilization, you're far off from all kinds of development. In the middle of America, the majority of white people are far off from development. And the only white people you see in the cities are the only representation you mainly see on TV are the few white people that live in the cities, right? The middle and upper class, upper crust of white society, right? And they live close to African Americans, right? They live close to us, where the production has, where the money spends, where the money moves, where decisions are made, right? But the majority of white people live in rural areas. They live way the hell out in villages, because they are the offspring of all those poor white people that were meant to go out there and mine and log all of the resources that were that the companies that live and operate on the East Coast and ship their goods overseas, they are the offspring of those people. The coal miners, the loggers, the miners, the oil rig workers, all those people, all the villages created in the middle of America, which is sparsely populated, by the way, all those villages were just working villages. So when the resources that the corporations went out there to mine starts to let up, or they don't need it no more, they move to another mine, those villages that were established for 70 something years, however long the business been going, they just dry up, right? And then they throw the Walmarts out there, so they're all beholden to Walmart because they got to go bank at Walmart, they grocery shop at Walmart, they buy clothes at Walmart, shutting down all the local businesses that used to support them back when they were working for the major corporations and the mining corporations or the manufacturing plants that used to exist before all those very same corporations moved their manufacturing plants overseas because it's much cheaper. And yet again, these poor white people are suffering in the middle of America because the corporations that they believed cared about them, right, which they clearly don't care about them. The corporations they believed cared about them abandoned them because they were no longer necessary, or because they wanted more money. And the corporations, their business model is to make money. And the first thing a corp company does to cut costs is to cut people, right? And so these people who are not educated in that fact, they're not woke to how business runs, right? So they still operate under the same propaganda given to them by these corporations, these rich white people, right? That all their problems are because of those others, are because of those white, because of those black people, because of those Spanish people, because of those Indian people, anything other than rich white people who dominate their lives, destroy their small businesses by replacing it with big box businesses that they're forced to utilize and be beholden to. And that's just what's it, right? That's how the propaganda continues. So, but the thing is that cycle doesn't break until those children go off to universities and they meet people from all over the world, and they come to find out, like, damn, everything I grew up believing in this small town is bullshit. Everything, all the racist and bigoted and tribalistic shit I used to believe is bullshit, right? And then they change and they become progressive. They start to progress because they start to become educated, right? That's why Republicans are anti-intellectual, right? When you're anti-intellectual and you have a bunch of mass of people who are not that smart, it's easy to corral them. It's easy to gather them up and make them believe one thing and do one thing and move one way. That's why Republicans get up and vote. That's what makes them dangerous, right? Democrats, on the other hand, are the intellectual groups, but at the same time, intellectual groups have different ideologies, just like the Democratic Party. There are different factions of the Democratic Party that got different ideologies of how they believe the world should work. You got progressives, you got liberals, you got centrists, you got all manner of different political thought processes, but it's all wrapped up in the bigger umbrella of the Democratic Party, right? The conservatives, because they don't understand anything about politics, they believe all the Democrats are the same, but in fact, the Democrats are not the same. They're like cats. That's why it's hard for Democrats to get anything done, because the Democrats represent multiple parties within the big party of Democrats, right? But it's frustrating because when you got all these different views and everybody's an intellectual and everybody got a PhD, right? It's hard to get shit done because everybody's bullheaded. That's why the Democrats can't get shit done. That's why they spend so much time pontificating and they have no idea how to actually fight back. Because one thing the Republicans know how to do is fight. Fighting is not simplistic, but to gather your army together, you have to use simplistic means. You got to motivate them, give them something like patriarchy, give them an enemy to fight. Democrats are so intellectual, they don't want to do that, right? So that's the problem. But Charlie Kirk was the enemy, and Charlie Kirk is no longer here. Because the thing is, white people, this is what I be saying. I'm a Pan-African, I'm pro-black, I'm black. You know, I talk shit about certain white people all the time, right? But I'm very specific about the white people I'm talking about. I'm talking about racist white people. I'm talking about white people that don't want to let anybody else live. I'm a Pan-African and I'm pro-black, but I don't want white people to die. I don't want white people to be hurt. I don't want white people to suffer. I want white people to mind their own white ass business sometimes and just have a good time and shut the fuck up when they need to shut the fuck up, right? And then talk when they need to fucking talk, right? Right now they need to be talking, right? And right now white folks are in a battle, in an internal battle fighting right now. And the thing is, those very same white people, right? Those white people who think that they have a monopoly on toughness and strength and guns and aggressiveness because they're racist and misogynistic and because they've been gaslit by those Republicans who told them Second Amendment solutions are the way to go. They forget that there's another group of white people that are vehemently and violently against racism. They are vehemently and violently against tribalism and misogyny and all that shit. And they will pick up a gun and do exactly the same goddamn thing these white folks in these hills when these militias think that they're gonna do. Right? And so white folks right now are in a battle. White people are at war. The Civil War has started. And it's in between white folks. The Civil War is between white people. Because it's only white people who are going to be able to change this. Because it's white people who put everybody in this situation. It's decisions white people make that put everybody in this situation. So only white people can undo it. And white people are fighting right now. Because we know all the way from the conservative side to the liberal side, all of them, no matter what their political ideologies is, for some reason they believe the solution is always to pick up a gun and do something about it. And that's what happened. Somebody picked up a gun and do something about it. And if you ain't noticed, people been picking up guns and trying to do something about it against this authoritarian government against white racism, against white tribalism, against this shit. So there is a group of white people that are tired of being quiet. There are a group of white people out here that's tired of being complacent and sitting on the sideline watching these dumbass white racists try to control the conversation and control the narrative, right? That's what's happening right now. 2025 is the year of change, year of exposure, year of cleansing, right? Nobody can tell me right now that America is not better today than it was yesterday. You can't tell me that America is not better right now than it was yesterday. You can't, no matter how violent it is. Sometimes violence is the answer, because diplomacy doesn't work all the time. If diplomacy does not work, violence is the answer. That is the law of nature. Every single cell and multicellular organism on this planet, when diplomacy does not work, they go directly to violence, period. That is the law of nature. Only the strong survive. I don't care what your artificial, religious, moral compass says. That is, in fact, the truth. No matter how uncomfortable it is, that is the truth, right? For instance, a lot of you people eat meat, but y'all don't wanna think about the process of how that get on your table. Y'all don't think about the violence that it takes in order for you to eat your bacon and eggs. Y'all don't want to think about the violence and death that it takes in order for you guys to eat that steak that you like so much. Y'all don't even want to think about the violence for all you vegans and vegetarians and shit like that. For all you vegans and vegetarians, y'all don't want to think about the violence it takes to get them vegetables on your table. Y'all don't want to think about the death and destruction that is caused in order to feed you your vegan meat, to feed you your vegetables, your avocados, your tomatoes, your peppers, your corn. Y'all don't want to think about that shit. But in the real world, in real life, it takes violence sometimes. It takes destruction. It takes chaos. And that's just the way the world in the real world really is, right? And we are, in fact, as a group of human beings, enlightened creatures on this earth, we are progressing. We are getting better. Despite what you guys might think, human beings, all right, human beings are the most peaceful we've ever been in the history of humanity. All right, we are progressing. We are definitely progressing, and we got a lot further to go to progress further, because that's the mission, right? But in the meantime, in the between time, this is reality, and that's the world we have to live in, not the fantasy one that we like to create on the internet, right? So yeah, so black folks, keep your ass in the house like we've been doing, right? Because we've been through this shit before. We understand all this shit, and this the shit we was trying to avoid everybody else going through, because we've been through it already. Now white folks are doing it. White folks are doing the thing. They're going through it. So all we got to do is stay in the house, play our video games, watch our anime, write our books, read our books, keep making videos, content on the internet. You know what I'm saying? Voicing our opinions and our thoughts on things, but at the same time staying out of the front lines and letting these white folks do what they got to do. Because finally they out here doing what they got to do. We can't say they ain't. We can't say they're not doing what they got to do. All right, so, but white folks, get out there, keep fighting, especially the righteous ones who are humanists, who believe that the scourge of racism, misogyny, and barbaric, savage Neanderthal thinking needs to go the way of the dodo bird, right? So that humanity can move on so we can get to Star Trek, all right? Because that's what I want. I want Star Trek. You want Star Trek? I want Star Trek. All right, so let's get to Star Trek, all right? Anyway, you guys tell me what you think in the comment section. This is Afro Think Tank. Learn some, teach some. I'm out.